In this section, we will begin defining empathy, first by comparing it to other prosocial behavior responses such as pity, sympathy, and altruism. But what do we mean by the term prosocial? This term describes a general attitude of openness, friendliness, and caring toward others. Prosocial behaviors, then, are those things that we say or do which reflect this general attitude. The terms empathy, pity, sympathy, and altruism are often used interchangeably to refer to our prosocial interactions. You can think of them as prosocial cousins, closely related, but with very important differences. First, let's look at altruism and compassion. These can be seen as a broad general attitude or philosophy that conveys an unselfish concern toward others, and as such can inform and influence our interactions with others. However, altruism and compassion are not automatically present when sympathy, pity, or empathy are conveyed. For example, a sociopathic gang member can be empathic or sympathetic toward a fellow gang member, while not at all altruistic or compassionate toward others. Thus, altruism and compassion constitute a general prosocial attitude that may or may not underlie all prosocial interactions or behaviors. Sympathy, pity, and empathy, then, are specific prosocial behavioral responses that, while demonstrating some concern for another person, may not represent a general altruistic or compassionate attitude toward all others. Now, let's take a closer look at the prosocial cousins, sympathy, pity, and empathy, and explore how they are different. They're different in two fundamental ways. First, from the giver's perspective, and second, in terms of the impact on the target or the recipient. To illustrate this, let's look at a diagram. We call it the mutual impact dynamic. It's intended to illustrate the relational dynamic between two people, where each person is represented by a curved arrow marked A or B. The circular touching arrows represent the mutual impact dynamic between A and B. Now let's set up a hypothetical example. Let's say that A says or does something that then impacts B. B reacts and responds, and that in turn impacts A, thus creating a unique interpersonal dynamic between them. But now let's get more specific. Imagine A is observing or listening to B, who is relating some recent negative experience with their mutual friend C. A begins to feel sorry for B. This feeling is sufficient for A to say or do something to communicate his feeling of pity for B. For example, A might say, "How awful! You poor thing! I'd be devastated if that happened." Here, B experiences some concern for A, but from an emotional distance and also with some judgment, as A seems to feel sorry for B. B has become the target or recipient of A's pity. B is psychologically impacted by this and reacts and responds as the object of A's pity. In reflection, can you put yourself in B's shoes? Can you remember a time when you were the target of someone's pity? How did it feel? Yum or yuck? I'm pretty sure it was yuck, because pity conveys a subtle sense of superiority. Conversely, do you remember your own pitying response towards someone else? Can you reflect on this experience of pitying someone? Did you feel caring, but maybe wanted to keep an emotional distance? Did you feel superior?